أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي وبعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We begin in the blessed name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We seek His help and His forgiveness. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refuge from the evil of our souls and the bad consequences of our evil action. Whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides will never be led astray, and whomsoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala leaves astray, no one can guide. I bear witness that there is no God worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the slave and final messenger sent to mankind. My dear brothers in Islam, alhamdulillah, we are on day 5 with our journey with the life of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So where did we stop yesterday? Where did we stop yesterday?
The journey to heaven.
We talked about al-Isra wal-Mi'raj, mashallah, that's where we stopped, and we told the reaction. We talked about the reaction after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam related the event to the Quraysh, how Quraysh responded with mockery and fun and humor, and then Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was ridiculed, and then they asked him and challenged him to tell them the signs of Jerusalem, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went ahead and started narrating to them the signs, and then he got so vexed he couldn't say anymore, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helped his prophet by bringing the vision right in front of him, in front of his eyes, which he could see and no one else could, and he immediately started describing Jerusalem as it was brick by brick, stone by stone, to the surprise of everyone, and everyone acknowledged the fact that it was the best description of Jerusalem. Right? And before I go there, Hajj asked me a question yesterday about the names that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Adam alayhi salatu wasalam. So I went in and checked them across. I'll tell you 3 opinions on the matter, and all the 3 are pretty much the same. The opinion of Ibn Kathir rahimahullah, he says, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Adam alayhi salatu wasalam, He taught him the names of everything, every single creation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. So from the angels and from every dot and stone, and he even mentioned that he even told him about the noiseless fart. So everything was taught to him. So that's when, after teaching him everything, that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, now learn from the angels. Now learn from them. So he was able to point to them and then move across. Ibn Kathir used the hadith of Imam al-Bukhari in his Sahih, where Imam al-Bukhari gives the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the ayat and the tafsir of the ayat to the Sahaba ajmain. Ibn Hajar says exactly the same thing, but he says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him everything, including the platter on which the food is served. So meaning the most smallest of the matters was also taught to him. So the word names is a matter of confusion there, and that's what led to difference of opinion as to what exactly it was. But this is the most majority opinion on the matter, and we both did the homework on that, alhamdulillah. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for deeper understanding. Right, so where are we now? We are in the 10th year of Hijrah, and we said this was the glad tidings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to His Prophet after he was overcome by sadness by the death of his beloved uncle, and most importantly the death of his beloved wife Khadija bint Khuwaylid radiallahu anha wa ardaha. So this was the case, and now we are now moving across. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam knew for sure after this he needs to find another base, and he was hunting for another base. So the first place he tried to take refuge from was a Taif. A Taif was a hill station, is a hill station 90 to 100 kilometers away from Al-Makkah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took by foot. He went along with Zayd bin Haritha, and just 2 men took on the night journey. So they just left so that people could not track them down and try to find out the agenda, and they did not take any mount with them. They did not take any camel or any animal with them for the journey. So they went by foot all the way to a Taif. And then what was the reception of the people of Taif?
They kicked him out.
They ridiculed him, they mocked him, and they said, what, haven't your God found anyone more suitable than you? You are on offer, you are a poor man and you are not a wealthy man. I mean, there are much better people in our community who could have become a prophet rather than you. So that was the response. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, while you have not accepted my message, I request you that you keep this particular request of mine secret to yourself. When I came to you asking for refuge with your people and with your city, don't let this message be revealed to the Quraysh. Obviously they were people of deceit. So what they did, they immediately sent a messenger back to the people of Quraysh saying that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Muhammad has come asking for refuge in a Taif. So this news goes back. Now on top of all this, after they ridiculed and rejected the message, they don't stop there. They let the young boys and girls in the street hit the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with stones. How many of you have ever been hit with a stone in their life? Like someone throw a stone at you? I have. Right? Where did you get hit?
Hajj?
Where did you get hit?
I forgot.
It feels
Yeah.
good. It feels from throwing at other people.
It feels good when you throw it at other, it's fun. But for the person who gets hit,
I think on my
yeah.
chest or something.
If it hits your skull, right? If it hits any part of your skull, right? That's it. Like you start seeing sparrows. You can't see anything in front of you. That the impact is so strong, and even if the smaller of the stone, I'm not talking the bigger ones, even the smallest one, that is the one that causes the biggest impact. What did Dawood alayhi salatu wasalam, send to Jalut? He didn't throw a rock, right? He threw a pebble which killed that giant. And that's what the stone does. Like it's very hard. And that's the punishment for zina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gave the hudud for zina, to stone the person who committed zina and the crime is committed, right? The crime is proven. That's the severity of the sin. That is one of the wisdoms of the sin, because that's very a cruel death. I mean, when you get hit, like before your body has reflex action, right? So when I move my hand in front of you, your eyes immediately you go back. That's your body's reflex action to protect yourself. But when someone's throwing stones at you, your reflex actions goes for a toss. Like you can't do anything. Like before you recover, the next one hits you. Like before your body tries to, your brain tells you this is where the pain is happening, there's pain elsewhere. So your body is so confused, and eventually that's slow death. Like you're inducing death on the person. And they did that to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Zayd bin Haritha came to the rescue of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was basically the shield. And he was stopping every stone, and he was trying to protect the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from all sides. But obviously this man could protect him to the complete sides, on all the sides. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam got hit, and there was blood bleeding. He was bleeding in his body until the shoes were filled with blood. Like the blood was crying to the body, and the shoes were filled with blood. This was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then the Prophet ﷺ moves away from At-Taif. Jibreel descends. Jibreel ﷺ descends, and he says, "O Prophet of Allah, Allah has given me permission to listen to you. If you ask me to crush these people, I can lift the hills on the sides and smash them across, like I can just smash them like cockroach. Nobody would survive." What did the Prophet ﷺ say? I mean, put yourself in that shoe. Like they disgraced you, they ridiculed you, they mocked you, they made a fool out of you. And on top of it, they persecuted you. If I were there, I would have probably asked Jibreel more. I would have asked him for more severity. This is the wisdom, and this is the akhlaq of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look at this man, subhanallah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we are his ummah, and we say that we follow his example. Let us try to really follow his example. He says what? After they did everything, he says, maybe in the future, there may be some of their progeny, some from the lineage, who might accept Islam, and they might die as Muslims. You are seeing the present, but the prophets are seeing the future. They're worried about the future. And that will exactly happen. The scholars report that after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed away, within the next 300 years, 1,000 scholars were produced from Taif. 1,000 scholars were produced just from Taif. In fact, the man who opened India, Al-Qasim, Mohammed bin Qasim, right? He was a Taqafi. He was a man from Taif. A man who brought, the Indian region, the subcontinent region, Islam, was a Muslim, was a man from Taif, and that was the fulfillment of the dua of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the mission to Taif was not completely a failure. When he came back, he came across some jinns. So before that, I want to mention this narration as well. This narration is weak, but I'll still mention it because there's wisdom in the narration. What I did say with the position with weak narrations, we neither accept it nor reject it. So while Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was coming back, when he gets closer to the region of Al-Makkah, he comes across a grape vineyard, and this belongs to two men from Mecca. So they identify Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they see him obviously clothed with blood, and he is completely in a bad shape. So they have some mercy on him, and they send their servant Addas, and they ask this man Addas, go and give him some fruit or some water so that he could refresh himself. So they sent Addas, who was a Christian. Addas was a Christian, and this man goes to serve the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he does not know about his message and him claiming to be prophet and whatnot. He goes and greets him, and again he gives him some food. And while during having they have the conversation, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks him, you are obviously a foreigner. Where are you from? And he says, I am from Nineveh. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam replies, so you are from the town of the noble man Yunus ibn Amittai. Yunus the son of Amittai. Then the Adas gets up and says, and how do you know about Yunus? Like, I mean, nobody has told me that they knew Yunus in this part of the world. How do you know about Yunus? And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Yunus was my brother, and he was a prophet, and I indeed am a prophet. The moment he says that, this man drops everything and he tries to jump to the feet of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kiss him. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam moves back, and he jumps up and starts kissing his hands and his forehead. These two men, the Kufari men from Mecca, who were the owners of the vineyard, they are seeing this first time. Like 5 minutes ago, the servant walks from this place to that point, and he meets and has a conversation with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and within the next 5 minutes, he is actually kissing this man and hugging him and trying to get benefits from him. And this is what we are scared about. Like anyone who speaks to him, they change. And then when this man comes back, and they ask him, Adas, what happened? Why were you kissing this man? And he says, what he has told me, only a prophet would know. What he told me, only a prophet would know, and no one else would know what he had told me. And then they try to cause fitna, and they say, you know what, don't give up your religion. Your religion of Christianity is much better than what he has come up with, although these people themselves did not believe in Christianity at all. But they were just causing some fitna. So this was a das. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as he was coming back, he was making some tilawah, and the jinn who were in the valley, they listened to the ayats which were recited, and they accepted Islam. And then they went back to the people, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala records this in Surah Al-Ahqaf and Surah Al-Jinn as well, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O Muhammad, when we directed you to the fear of the jinn, listening to the Quran, and when they attended it, they said, indeed, listen quietly, and when it was concluded, they went back to the people as warners, and they said, our people, oh, this is the people of jinn. Indeed, we have heard a book revealed after Musa, confirming what was before it, and which guides people to the truth and to the straight path. Ibn Kathir, rahimahullah, when he gave the tafsir of the ayah, he asked the question, how come the jinn said Musa and not anyone else? And his conclusion was that these jinns were Jews. These jinns were Jews, and they were from Yemen. What is a jinn? Jinn is another community just like humans, the human society. This community is created from fire, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us from clay and clay, soil, or dust, whatever you want, whichever version you want to call it, because Allah gives different names at different point in time. Salsali min faqar, right? The sort of clay that makes noise. When the clay is dry, it makes noise. So this is a community. Now, this community obviously has some additional powers that the humans don't. So they have a power of flight, they have power to take shapes, and they can travel up to the heavens, but obviously not cross the heavens. So we know from Surah Al-Mulk, when they try to listen to the discussion happening within the heavens, what happens? The angels come down and they strike with the stars. They throw the stars at them. Right? They throw stars at the shayateen to scare them away. And we stupid people, we look at that falling star. Oh, falling star! Give me something. Right? That's how the ignorance is. So it is an azab that is sent upon the shayateen, but yet few people want to participate in the azab. This is how some people are. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for understanding. So the mission was not a failure after all, because remember, like the first day when there was just 4 people, mashallah, there's a big gathering now. When there were just 4 people, the next day when I spoke, I said, well, if the gathering did not have ins, I'm pretty sure we had jinn, right? There's a halaqah of jinn everywhere. Just like us as Muslims, there is a community there which is Christian community, there's a community there which is a Jewish community, and so on and so forth. And all these things that we hear about aliens and whatnot, we simply say that's jinn. Because the word genius comes from jinn. The English word genius comes from jinn. And the supernatural entity that the people spot and whatnot, for us, it's a simple explanation. We just say it's a jinn. We accept that there's a supernatural entity living amongst us that we cannot see. So you call them ancient aliens and astronauts and whatnot, Allahu Akbar, we leave it to you. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us understanding. So this is not a failure after all. But remember now, when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes back, the news has already reached the Quraysh that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam tried to go out and seek refuge from the people of Taif. Now coming back and getting entry into Mecca is a problem. So first, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes back and he sends Urayqat, one of the Sahabi, to go across and speak to one of the elite men in Quraysh, to asking them to give security for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was this trivial, chivalry that these people of Quraysh had. Whenever you have a problem with someone, when someone else who is more powerful and more richer can come and guarantee security of this person, if they accept the security, they don't harm him. So that was a kind of a chivalry, a societal thing that was going across. So the first person Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sends for asking for is Al-Akhnas ibn Shurayq. Al-Akhnas ibn Shurayq was from Banu Zahra, and this man basically says, I am just but an ally of Quraysh. I am not Quraysh from the actual tribe itself. So my protection won't mean anything to you. I would love to help you, but unfortunately I can't. So he politely declines. The next person that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sends a messenger is to Suhail ibn Amr. Suhail ibn Amr, the man we spoke about, this man who goes on to negotiate the Sulh of Hudaybiyah, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah later on in the 6th year of Hijrah. So Suhail says, I am your arch enemy, I hate you to my guts. There's no way that you are going to get any security whatsoever from me. And now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tries with the third man, Al-Mut'am ibn Uday. Mut'am ibn Uday was the man who went into the Kaaba and brought back the scroll which had the sanctions written on it. So Al-Mut'am agrees, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam spends the night in the house of Mut'am. And the next morning, Mut'am prepares 7 men from his tribe, and they all clothed in special clothes, and they carry their spear, and they walk with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a sign of protection, leading him to the Kaaba where he would want to offer prayers. When Abu Sufyan saw Al-Mut'am and his men escorting Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Sufyan rushes to Al-Mut'am and says, have you accepted this man's religion, or are you just giving him protection? So he wanted to clarify things. Are you just there giving him protection? Have you accepted Islam? Because for him the bigger problem was Al-Mut'am accepting Islam, because he is the head of a tribe. If he accepts, the whole tribe will accept. So he wanted to make sure that what's happening. Al-Mut'am said, no, I am just giving him protection. I still follow the religions of my forefathers. So he was very happy now. And because now he said that, he didn't want to oppose the security, and Abu Sufyan went ahead and said, fine, if that is the case, we accept your security, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam can remain in Al-Makkah and do whatever he wants to do. So now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is under the security of Al-Mut'am ibn Uday, and he goes on to live and give dawah. But now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is on a search. He's searching for a new base. He's really looking to move out of Al-Makkah, and he wants to establish Islam, and he wants to establish the pillars of Islam in an open city where the community would grow on to become a Muslim community. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam starts meeting the delegations that come for Hajj every year. So he goes out and starts meeting the different delegations that come across. I'm not going to go into all of them. I'll try to mention few of them. The first one was few important ones, I would say. The first one was the people of Banu Hanifa. Banu Hanifa were the people of Yamama. So if you still have the diagram there, Yamama is on the far eastern side of Saudi, the Arabian Peninsula. So the people of Yamama is where one of the leaders was Musaylam al-Kazzab, Musaylama the liar, the man who would later on call himself to be a prophet. The man who called himself to be a prophet. So there were 3 people who 3 men and 1 woman. 3 men who claimed prophethood, and 2 of them claimed prophethood in the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One was Musaylam al-Kazzab, the other one was Hurayra al-Asadi, and the third one was al-Aswad al-Ansi. And then there was this woman, Hajjah. What is the name?
I don't know her name, but they used to call her the horse whisperer.
The horse whisperer. Right? She used to have, she used to do tricks and stuff, and she had some connection with the jinn, and she used to make some mockery and stuff. Anyway, she gave up her claim quite easily in the game. But the worst of them was Musaylam al-Kazzab. The worst of the 3 was Musaylam al-Kazzab. I'll give you the name of before I give, inshallah, it will come to me, inshallah, I'll give you the name. So this was the case. So Musaylam al-Kazzab and these people had come for Hajj, and when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached out to them and asking, he would politely go to them, he'll greet them, and he'll ask permission to sit with them, and he'll say, I have something to share with you, and if you like it, inshallah ta'ala, I will tell you my terms, and we can talk more on it. So that is how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will show etiquettes and manners in engaging with the Hujjaj and talking to them. While he tries to do that with the people of Banu Hanifa, they were the most severest in rejecting the message message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They just shut him down and said, we have nothing to do, don't even try coming to us the next time, and they just closed doors. The next people I want to mention is the people of Banu Amr ibn Sasa. Banu Amr ibn Sasa are the people who liked the message. They tried to get Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam into their tribes, and they promised him protection, but they had one condition. What was the condition? The condition was, if and when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam passes away, whenever he dies, he leaves the earth, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam should nominate someone from the tribe of Banu Amr to become the next leader. So they were after power and authority. They knew that this matter of Islam will come to its completion, and it will eventually encompass the whole region of the Arabian Peninsula, if not the earth. So they wanted to enjoy this authority, and they said, if you can guarantee us this particular agreement where you will delegate authority to us after we pass away, then we will promise you protection. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Al-ardu lillah. The earth belongs to Allah, and He gives to whoever He wants, and He takes it from whoever He wants. I am not the one who will make the choice. It is Allah to decide. If you want to give me completion, Sajjah, yes. I said Hajj, right? Sajjah, yes.
It's not Hajj,
Hajj. Sajjah bint Haritha. Sajjah bint Haritha, yes. This was this evil woman who tried to misuse the opportunity, and she claimed prophethood, and she actually led a battle. She actually drive two tribes, and she comes across and she tries to create some fitna, and eventually on the way she joins hands with Musaylim al-Kadhdhab, and they get married and they spend 3 nights, and then Musaylim al-Kadhdhab divorces him, and when she knows that the army of Khalid bin Walid is coming across, and she has already got everything from Musaylama and from Yamama, she gets all the share of the grain. She goes back. She says, Khalas, I came for money, I got money, I go back, and who will fight Khalid bin Walid? So the people who supported Khalid, Sajjah, they were in trouble, and eventually one of the leader gets killed by Khalid bin Walid. That's another day, and inshallah another talk. There's a lot of things to learn from that story. So continuing with the story, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is now reaching out to different tribes, and this tribe says, no, we need power. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam denies, and then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam goes across, and he meets the people of Banu Shayban. Banu Shayban were a people who lived on the borders of the Arabian Peninsula, on the eastern side, bordering Persia. So one side of their power center would be bordering the Persian Empire, and the other side is bordering the Arabs. So they said, listen, we are strong people, and one of their key members was Al-Muthanna ibn Haisa. Al-Muthanna was a superhuman soldier, a Sahaba, who comes across and he fights, sorry, not Sahaba, Tabi'in. He did not say Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sorry, he met Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yes, but he was not in the state of Islam at the time, so we'll still call him a Tabi'in. So Al-Muthanna was a very, very strong warrior. I mean, this man in one of the fights, in the Khalaf of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, he comes from the battle. He actually travels from Damascus all the way across the Arabian Peninsula, a journey of few weeks. He makes that journey, and the moment he comes to the battlefield, he just gets off his horse, comes across and starts asking people for duel, and he mows down 6 people like straight away. Doesn't even take a break, and that puts scare on the hearts of the enemy who are fighting the Muslims. They can't even see. Man, this man just came down, and he's just like he's charging like a lion. So this was Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha. These people said, we like what you say, we believe in your message. However, we have a problem. Our problem is, we can promise you protection only from the Arabian side, and that is because our numbers are very less. So we have 700 men in horsemen who are powerful, so we can give you protection from the Arabian side, and we can fight the small tribes. However, the other side is the Persian Empire, and we are so small, we cannot fight with them. I mean, that's an empire. You can't fight an empire with 700 men. They'll crush us. So we can only promise you one side. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, no, you have to promise me protection from all sides. Only then I will be able to come along with you. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not accept their offer. And now he meets 6 people from the tribe, from a place called Yathrib. And these people had come for Hajj in that particular year. These people are the people I think we all should remember their names. Jabir bin Abdullah.
Can you write it?
Huh?
Can you write it?
Can we write it? Okay. Number 1, Jabir bin Abdullah. Jabir bin Abdullah was the Sahabi who had the miracle of the food. He slaughters 1 sheep and 700 companions come and eat from it. Remember the day of Khaybar? A Sahaba comes and whispers into the ear of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, my wife has invited, we have a small meal, just bring few of the companions so that we can enjoy the meal with me. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turns around and says, oh brothers, Jabir has invited us to his home for dinner, let's all go. And the wife actually told Jabir, the husband, when you go to him, make sure you tell him in his ears, like don't make it a public announcement, because we don't have sufficient food to serve all of them. And then Jabir does exactly the same, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam makes a public announcement, and Jabir is now scratching his head and going back, like he has to face the tiger, like the wife. Okay, the wife, goes and gets into the house, and he says, this is what happened, like Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has invited everyone, so all the people who are digging the trench now, everyone's walking here. The wife says, didn't I tell you not to tell, in public? He said, I exactly did what you told me, but this is what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. But he gave him one instruction. He said what? Till I come back, do not lift the pot from the fire. Like make sure that the cooked food is still cooking. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, and he was the one who started serving the people. 700 people ate from one sheep. Imagine that. So that's why mashallah, when we give, when we invite people to our home, sometimes, we plan and then more people show up than actually we anticipate. Don't fear, just have ikhlas in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give barakah. Don't get panicked, because that's sufficient. Allah looks at the heart. That food, man, inshallah ta'ala, will be sufficient for even for 2,000 people, inshallah. So don't get scared and don't try to create confusion.
The first day of Sahur, had so many people and they had two boxes of cereal.
MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. But still, you had a good fast, and mashallah, you're still there. Alhamdulillah, you're still here and sitting. So it's all good sign. Then, the number 2, Asad ibn Durara. Number 3, Aus ibn Haris. Not your father Haris, the other Haris. Rafa ibn Malik. Qutbah ibn Amir and his brother Utbah. Qutbah ibn Amr and Utbah ibn Amr. So these 6 men come across, and they come from a place called Yathrib, which later comes to known as the city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Al-Madinatul Munawwara. So these people come, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes to them and asks them, are you from the people of Al-Khazraj? And he said, actually all of them were Khazraji. All of them were from the tribe of Khazraj. And if you remember, we said Yathrib was a colony of 5 tribes. 2 Arab tribes and 3 Jewish tribes. Al-Aus and Al-Khazraj, and then the Jewish tribes, Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Qurayda, Banu Nadir. So these 3 Jewish tribes were living along with the Arabs in the area. So Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes across, and then he sits with them and he talks to them, and they love the message. They love the message that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam come back with, and they all say, okay, let's go back to our people and we'll give dawah to see how many people are interested. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll meet you here next year, and then we will see what happens. So the next year they come back as 12. The 6 go back and they come back as 12, and now they make a pledge of allegiance. This is the first pledge of allegiance the Ansaris made before they made the pledge of Aqaba later on. So they make a pledge, and what is the pledge? Very simple: do not associate any partners with Allah. First, Tawheed, no shirk. Then you will not fornicate. You will not fornicate. Fornication was banned straight away. You will not fornicate, and they accepted to the terms. And then they went back. Before they went back, they did something very, very smart. They asked the Prophet ﷺ, now that we have accepted and given you our allegiance, why don't you send an ambassador with us who can come along with us and give and teach a dawah to our people and teach our people Islam? This man, Mus'ab ibn Umair, was nominated, a young Sahabi. This man, before accepting Islam, let me give you a few points about this man, one of my favorite Sahabis. This man, he was smelled before he was seen. Like this man would wear such beautiful perfumes. If he walks through this path, the perfume will linger so long before you actually know that Mus'ab has walked in this particular path. He will wear as costume and he will not repeat it for the month. He was filthy rich. He was the only son of a rich mother, a rich widow mother, and he was pampered, he was spoiled, and his skin was so soft because of all the oils and the lotions that he would use. And this was the man. And then he accepts Islam. And the mother says, I will not give you a penny of my wealth. I disowe you from all the wealth that I have. And this man goes across and dies on the day of Uhud. And he fights with Prophet ﷺ and he dies on the day of Uhud. When he died, they tried to cover his face and they did not have sufficient cloth. They tried to cover his face, they can't, the feet get exposed. They tried to cover his feet, the face gets exposed. So the Prophet, the Sahaba Ajmain come saying this, and this man's skin was so dry, the skin was so dry that the skin would start coming off, like it's so flaky, it would start coming off. This man was so rich and so pampered, died in that state. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he came, he said, use the trees from the leaves and cover his feet and cover his head. Use the cloth to cover his head and use the leaves to cover the feet of Mus'ab ibn Umair. And this is how the Sahaba sacrificed the youth, their life for the sake of Islam. How will we match them? The only way we can match, obviously we can't do what the Sahabas did. We can't fight in Uhud. We don't have the opportunity. But we could follow the example of the Sahaba Ajmain and the Prophet, this example of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But by following their sunnah, by following that which they live for, which is Islam and the fundamentals of Islam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for understanding. Ameen. So these people go back, and then Mus'ab now starts giving da'wah in Madinatul Munawwara. Now Mus'ab has very good fortune in breaking through the Khazraji people, because all of the 12 who came, most of them were from Al-Khazraj. So he was able to break through Al-Khazraji. And remember, when we gave the geography of Medina, Khazraj was living in the southern part of Medina, and Al-Aus were in the western part. Banu Qaynuqa, the Jews, were living in the central place where the market was, and these were goldsmiths. People used to sell jewelry. So that's how the spread was. So now they want to move across, and as they're trying to give dawah, trying to break through to the Arabs before they go into the Jews. So Asad ibn Zurara takes Mus'ab ibn Umair, and they try to go to the border area where the people of Al-Aus live. And they actually make a halaqah there, and they sit down and they're talking. Two men, the two leaders of Al-Aus are watching this. One of them is Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, radiallahu anhu. May Allah be pleased with him. And the other one was Umair bin Shuqair. Sorry, did I say the name right? Umair bin Khubair, not Shuqair. Umair bin Khubair. These two men are seeing what is happening, and Sa'd says to Umair, oh Umair, I don't like what I am watching. Like, I don't like these people coming around and fooling in our part of the land. I want these people to get away from this place. I don't want them to cause any confusion in my part of the town. So Umair picks up a spear, and he goes and stands on the shoulder of Mus'ab ibn Umair. When in the Arabic language, when they say standing on the shoulder, it's like his shadow is on my shoulder. Like, he's standing right behind me, so it's not physically standing on my shoulder, but he's standing right behind me, so his shadow is covering me. So Umair comes and stands on the shoulder of Mus'ab ibn Umair, and he says, just get away from me, like, no fooling around in my part of the town, get away. Mus'ab gets up, radiallahu, and he says, well, before you get rid of us, why don't you sit with us and listen to what we have to say? Like, why do you reject us before you even know what we are offering? So sit with us, listen to what we have to say. If you like it, you take it. If you don't like it, we will get away with our business. So Umair sits down with them, and he listens to them. Asad ibn Zurara says, the moment Umair started listening to the words of Mus'ab, his eyes sparkled, his face was rising up, and I know that Allah was opening his heart for Islam. I mean, it was evident that Allah was opening his heart with ikhlas, and Iman was entering into his heart. It was very evident. Now, look at the dynamics and the personality difference between the people of Mecca and the people of Medina. The people of Mecca are so stupid and so arrogant. The man says, even if you bring a written document from your God and you bring 4 angels, I won't accept. Like, that's the type of people Rasulullah was dealing with in Mecca. Like, closed doors, like nothing is reaching their ears. And these are people who have a tendency to listen. That is the contrast of the people of Al-Mecca and Medina. Even today, if you go to the Mecca, in the marketplace, the people in Mecca are very strong, in their trade. But if you go to Medina, you will see everyone so soft and compassionate, and there's beauty in the language. It's very soft, so it's all nice. That's how people are, according to the region, because they are traders and they are farmers. Farmers need to have patience. You can't sow a date seed and expect the tree to grow overnight. You need to wait, and you have to pray to Allah to give rain and water and so on and so forth. So you have to learn patience. So that's the nature of the people. Umair accepts Islam. right there, and he stands up and says to Musab, listen, I'm going to go back and send back to you a man. If you can make sure that he can accept Islam, he will make sure that the rest of the people will accept Islam. Like you, this is the man you have to break. If you get through him, your problem is solved. So he goes back and he cooks up the story. So Asad ibn Zurara and Asad ibn Muaz were cousins. The mother of Saad was married to one of the Khazraji, and that's how they were cousins. So Umar goes back to Saad and says, listen, the reason why these people are there is because they want to talk to you. It seems that somebody is trying to assassinate and plot against killing, Asad ibn Zurara. So Asad is here along with these men to talk to you. I think that's why they're waiting for you. You should go and talk to them. So Saad picks up his spear. Immediately, the heart connects with the sentiments of kinship. So he picks up the sword. How dare someone tries to mess around with my cousin? So he goes up and charges there. When he goes to the halakha, he understands. Oh, Umar made a fool out of me. So Umar, he actually tells Umar, like, why did you put me into this trouble? And then Musa exactly says the same thing. Sit with us, listen to what we have to say, and inshallah, if Allah wants hidayah for you, Allah will make it happen. So then Musa ibn Muaz sits and he accepts Islam. This man's acceptance, he goes back to the people of Al-Aus and he stands in the streets of Medina and he says, oh my people, what do you think about me? And they say, you are the most noble of us and you are our leader. And he says, if none of you, if all of you do not accept Islam, I am not going to talk to any one of you. Like he says, I will disown all of you if you don't accept Islam. Asad ibn Zurara says, by that evening, every house in Al-Aus accepted Islam. Same day. And now, they all are dying to meet the Prophet ﷺ, and that's when they make the trip and they meet Prophet ﷺ in Al-Aqaba. Al-Aqaba was a place outside of, if you go there, I think there's a building there. You don't have the place anymore. You have a huge hotel. Probably inside the hotel you might have some, I don't know, I have not been to the hotel. So there's a huge hotel there now. Rasulullah ﷺ goes along with Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, his uncle, who was still a kuffar at the time. He accepts Islam after the Battle of Badr. So he goes along with his uncle, and then they meet the Prophet ﷺ. The 12 people who have already seen the Prophet ﷺ, they spot the Prophet and they point at him and they say, that's Muhammad ﷺ, the messenger of God. And then they ask them, who is the one who is coming along with him? And then someone says, that's the uncle Abbas. Abbas was the one who spoke. Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib was the one who spoke to the delegation from Al-Ansar. So he tells them, my nephew is well protected in Mecca. He is taken care of. However, he chooses you over us. He wants to come along with you and live with you. You have to guarantee that you will give him safety and security just like we have and more. And someone jumps up from Ansar to speak front and give security, make the promise and make the pledge of allegiance. Someone else stops him. He says, no, hang on. Think about the gravity of this. Like you are basically, by accepting Muhammad ﷺ as your leader in your community, you are declaring war with the rest of the Arabian tribes. You are actually declaring war with the rest of the Arabian. Why? Number one, Quraysh are the leaders of the Arabian tribes. Whatever they say becomes the law. And this man is in the wanted list of Quraysh. So eventually they are going to come sort for him, and perhaps they will be killing and bloodshed. So that's number one. And we are not just fighting Quraysh, we would end up fighting every ally of Quraysh. Every tribe that supports Quraysh, we'll have to fight them as well. So think about the consequences. So then they asked him, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, so what is our part of the bargain? So what is that we are getting out of this? Like we will give you all of this, what is it we get? Now Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam speaks and says, Al-Jannah. Like he doesn't promise you, I'll give you kingdom, I'll make you prime ministers and presidents of the world, I'll give you so many billions of dollars. He doesn't say all of that. He says Al-Jannah. And then they say, what a beautiful transaction to me. Look at the heart of these people. Can you see Jannah? Is it tangible? So they made a deal of something which was not tangible. For us, unfortunately, for some of us, Jannah and Nar are concepts in Islam. I've heard people, they are just concepts. Muslims telling me this. If we start living as we can see Jannah, the statement of Ali bin Abi Talib, it won't matter to me if Jannah and Nar are presented to me right now, because I'm already living my life as if I'm seeing Jannah and I'm already seeing Nar. So my life, I'm living exactly, I know what the good that waits for me in Jannah, so I strive for it. And I know the punishment if I don't, if I miss around and if I fail in my actions, the punishment that awaits me in Jahannam, so I stay away from the haram. If we start living by it, inshallah Allah will easily guarantee us Al-Jannah. Inshallah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us mercy on the day of judgment and accept us, all of us, into Al-Jannah. Ameen. So this was the case, and now they all give the pledge of allegiance to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they go back in happiness, waiting for the arrival of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in Mecca, and now the problem is going to its peak. Quraysh knew now, has sensed now that eventually this man is going to go out, and he will get. They did not know that the agreement has already happened between the people of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the people of Yathrib. So they sense this. They know, they anticipate that this is eventually going to happen. So what they do now, they're trying to come up with a plot to assassinate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And now, as usual, Abu Jahl comes across this man. Whenever we say plot, you have to immediately think of only one man, Abu Jahl. So Abu Jahl immediately calls up the people in the parliament, Darun Nadwa, and he says, this matter of Muhammad, we have to put an end to this. Like, we have to sort him out once and for all. This matter is going beyond bounds, and we have to put an end to this. What do we do? One of the suggestions that was given at the time was, we should prison him. We should chain him up, and we should prison him. And everyone said, no, this is not the right. But it is said, Ibn Ishaq said, Shaitan came in the disguise of Suraqah ibn Malik, one of the Bedouins. He came in the disguise of Suraqah ibn Malik, and he sat with the majlis. He sat with the people of in that place, in the parliament, and he also was listening to the conversation. So they initially said, let's present Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and obviously people rejected that thought. They said, Muhammad has a lot of followers now. Like, his people are going to eventually retaliate, rebel against us, and they are going to free him. And there's nothing that more we would do. More, in fact, there'll be more bloodshed inside the city than we would want. So they said, no, this idea is not good. Drop it. What is the next idea? The next idea is, let's go ahead and exile him. Let's send him away somewhere deep in the desert. He will probably die, or whatever happens, we don't have to worry about him. No. The Shaitan says, no, this is not the right opinion. Why? He goes across, he starts speaking to the people, his words are so beautiful, he will attract attention, and perhaps that might create problem for us in our trades. Remember, they had to make trades to Sham and Yemen. So if he finds security elsewhere in Arabia, that may create problems for us, so let's not do that. What is the third option? Now Abu Jahl speaks. Abu Jahl says, kill him. Not just kill him, I have an idea how to kill him. He says, Banu Hashim and Banu al-Muttalib are just two tribes. So if one tribe kills them, one of the men from one tribe kills Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will retaliate, and then they will overcome them, and there will be bloodshed. Why don't we bring 5 young men from 5 different tribes, 5 powerful tribes, and let all of them attack the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at once and kill him? So the blame will now be shared by 5 tribes. Banu Hashim and Banu Muttalib won't have enough men to fight 5 tribes, so we can convince them to accept blood money, and we can give them whatever blood money they ask. I mean, 1,000, the diya is 100 camels. Even if they ask 1,000 camels, we can give them 1,000 camels. So we will actually convince them and give them whatever money they want, and we'll close the matter from there. Shayateen now says, the Shaitan Suraqah ibn Malik says at the time, this is the right opinion. That's it. This is what we should be doing. And now the assassination plot happens. Until this time, the Prophet ﷺ was not given permission to make hijrah. So he was not given permission, and we said previously, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh tried to make hijrah, and he went ahead and he met a man named Ibn Daghanna. Remember the conversation I said? And he comes back, and Ibn Daghanna brings Abu Bakr into the city, and he gives him security, and he prays in the portico and whatnot, and then the Quraysh come back and create problems. So we mentioned all of that, right? So now Prophet ﷺ is waiting for permission to come, but this is what's happening at the time. And one of the days, this is the narration of Asma bint Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. She says, while we were in our homes, on a hot afternoon, on a hot summer afternoon, when the sun is at peak, the Arabs, they don't travel outside because it's too hot. You can't travel, so that's siesta time. Like, go ahead, take some quick nap, stay indoors, protect yourself from the sun. That's about it. There's less, movement in the town. That's what I'm trying to say. So there's less movement in the town. They suddenly hear a knock at the door. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu is in the house, and he immediately says, this must be Messenger of Allah, this must be Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he immediately senses that there can't be no one else, but this must be Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to visit the house of Abu Bakr quite frequently, but he came in an unusual time. He doesn't usually come in that time, so now he has come. When they open the door, they see Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam has covered himself with his cloth. The head covering that he has, he's extended it all the way and he's covered his face. So that people don't know that this is Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam visiting the house of Abu Bakr in that particular hour of the day. So he comes in and he gets permission to enter. When he comes in, he immediately asks the people, whoever is in the household, ask them to leave. Whoever from your family is inside the house, ask them to leave. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu says, my family is your family, Ya Rasulullah. Why, go ahead and tell whatever you have to say. But he says, your secret, whatever you want to share, don't worry, nobody is going to spread it out, so you can trust us. Prophet ﷺ says, Allah has given me permission to migrate. Allah has given me permission to migrate. What is the first question this man asked? Abu Bakr, like after listening to these words, Ashabatu Ya Rasulullah, can I be your companion Ya Rasulullah? He doesn't ask him how, where, when are we going. He doesn't ask any of those questions. Like if we were there, we may probably have had another 2 hours of conversation trying to delay the matter. The first question he asked was, can I be your companion, O Prophet of Allah? And the Prophet ﷺ says, now, yes, absolutely you can. And Aisha radiallahu anha says, I have never seen a man cry as I saw my father cry like a baby that day. Like, I've never seen someone weeping to that extent. And remember this is not a bushwalking trip. This is not a sightseeing trip, and this is not a coastal ride that you will scenic drive that you're taking. This is a suicide mission. The least punishment that would be inflicted upon you if you get caught is your head rolling in the streets of Mecca. That's the least punishment you can. So you like, this is a suicide mission where death is assured. If you get caught, you're dead. And then this man is crying, and he's crying out of happiness. Why? Because he gets to enjoy the fountain of prophethood for the duration of the journey exclusively. There's no one else to enjoy from the fountain of prophethood except this man. Until today, until perhaps we meet Abu Bakr Siddiq in Jannah and say Ameen. Until we meet him in Jannah, we won't know exactly what they spoke. We only know about the incidents which we know publicly, which is the event where we have narration from Amir bin Fuhaira and so on and so forth, Abdullah bin Urayq and other people. These are the people who were in the journey who were able to narrate to us what had happened. Asma bint Abu Bakr, when she brought food to the Jabal Thawr and so on and so forth, right? We know points of note. We just know the mawaqif, the key events that took place. But we do not know for sure exactly what they spoke about. No one knows. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, after spending his entire life like a shadow with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, narrated how many hadith? 100 plus narrations. That's it. Less than 150. That's it. Of spending all his life, he narrated that much, because obviously his khilafah was busy with so much other things. He didn't have time to narrate so many things. But his khilafah was a symbol of showing the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything that he did was the sunnah of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was his mission and the motto, the vision statement of his khilafah. I am a follower. I am not someone who innovates. That was his motto in his khilafah. So this immediately after he says that, he says, "O Prophet of Allah, I have prepared 2 camels." So he knows that this is imminent, this is going to happen. So he says, I have prepared 2 camels, and now let's go ahead and do the plan. What is the plan? Let's look at the plan now. So the plan is, they will leave Mecca at a time prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives permission to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will make the journey. So Abu Bakr will go and wait in Jabal Thawr. Okay, so he will go and wait. His son Abdullah will make the scouts. So he will go around in the morning in the streets of Mecca trying to listen to the conversations of Quraysh, and he will bring back the news. So he will be the one who will be the bearer of news, and he will scout the area for information. That's one. So another person is there, right? So there's Abu Bakr involved, his son. Then the third man. There's a third man. Who is this man? Amir ibn Fuhaira. Amir ibn Fuhaira was a freed slave who used to work, and this man was a shepherd. So this man's job is, when you walk in the desert, you leave behind footprints. So he will make sure that he brings the sheep with the herd along in the desert area as if he is doing his job, and he will make sure that all of the footprints are wiped off by the by the heels of the sheep. So that's his job. And then Abu Bakr hires another man for the journey. He hires a guide, Abdullah bin Uraykid. Okay, so this man, his job is to take the Prophet ﷺ and Abu Bakr from Jabal al-Thawr all the way to Medina from this unusual route. There was a direct route that goes to Medina. This journey may take 8 days, and this journey takes about 9 to 11 days or more. So this is a longer trip, and this journey was not known to everyone. The usual trade route, which obviously why would you take the long route to go north? You will obviously take the shortest route. But this long route was not known to everyone. So now Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu hires Abdullah bin Uraykid. Abdullah bin Uraykid was a non-Muslim at the time. He was kuffar, a disbeliever at the time. Okay, I'll talk very quickly about some of the rulings about appointing a non-Muslim ruler upon the Muslims, inshallah, as an Amir. So Abdullah bin Uraykid. And then the daughter of Abu Bakr, Asma bint Abu Bakr. Asma bint Abu Bakr. So she has the responsibility of bringing food supply. So she has to bring food for the 3 days and nights that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abu Bakr are going to camp in the cave. So this, see, look at the exhaustive planning. Like so many people involved, everything is planned, and they have a clear vision as to what needs to happen. But now the challenge is for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam from come out from his house without any detection and reaching this place. So Abu Bakr flees and he moves across with a very limited supply of things that he want to carry, and he goes and waits. Now he's waiting for the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now we will go to the hijrah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is in his house, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him permission and is waiting for the work to happen, and he knows that migration is imminent. It is going to happen for sure. He invites his cousin Ali bin Abi Talib and he tells him, I am going to migrate, but I want you to sleep on my bed when I make the trip. So when someone comes and looks at my house, they see some movement and they will think that it's me and I am already gone. He says, yes. This is another man who wants to commit suicide for the sake of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He basically says, my life is at your service. Like, whatever you want, Prophet of Allah. You want me to become your shoe, I'll become your shoe. Whatever you want, no problem. He knows they are already planning assassination. They're trying to plot, to kill him. And he says, no problem. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيَمْكُرُونَ يَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. They plan and Allah plans, and indeed Allah is the best of planners. Allahu Akbar. Allah says, that let them, when they try to plot, assassinate you or kill you, let them plan. They plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Our plan is the best. It will prevail over everything. It will prevail over everything. And look at the miracle. Abu Jahl and the 5 men from the 5 different tribes come and camp around. They circle the house and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the night, and they are waiting for him to come out in the morning so that they can strike him down. So when they come in, they see that someone is sleeping. They saw Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They saw Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam sleeping in his bed at that particular time when he was still in the house. Okay, and now they are all waiting to see the next morning. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives permission, Jibreel comes and says, oh Prophet of Allah, leave now. Like, you have been given permission to leave right now. When he leaves, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is said that he took some dust and he blew it, and the dust was made as a wind, and it fell, the particles fell on everyone who were around the house. Like that a wind came and the dust that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam blew went ahead and hit everyone's eyes. When you scratch your eyes like this, when something falls on your eyes, what do you immediately do? When the dust falls, you immediately try to clear it off, right? When you do this, am I looking? So someone walks in front of me, do I look at him? Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam walked right in front of them, nobody saw. Nobody saw. And it is said he also recited Saddahu min khasum sadda fakhshaynahum fahum la yabsurun. The ayat from Surah Al-Yasin. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala covers and seals the heart of the people of whoever he wants, and he reveals it for whoever he wants. So then he moves, he makes the trip right there, and these people open their eyes and everything is normal, and they are still thinking someone is in the home, and it was actually Ali bin Abi Talib now. So he is the man sleeping in the bed. Next morning, the doors open and they all jump to strike, and Ali bin Abi Talib steps out. Now they're all confused, like, where did you come from? Like, we were waiting to kill this man, where did you come from? And he says, I don't know. In fact, he actually didn't know. He did not know how, at what point he left, but he did know that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was about to leave. And now they go on a hunt. They immediately start the hunt. The first house that Abu Jahl goes along with his men was the house of Abu Bakr. He knows if he has left, the only man he would have gone ahead with was Abu Bakr. So he goes to the house of Abu Bakr, knocks the door. Asma bint Abu Bakr opens the door and she says, what happened, where's your father and what are his whereabouts? She says, I don't know. She knew, but she did not say anything. And Abu Jahl gives her a tight slap to the extent that her left earring, the left earring just falls off, like very heavy blow. That the significance there is it was a heavy blow, very heavy blow. He strikes the young lady, and she has injury, and the earrings fall down. And then what happens? She leaves. Abu Quhafa, the father of Abu Bakr, comes hearing about the news going around the town, and later on he comes and asks Asma bint Abu Bakr. So I think I presume that my son Abu Bakr has left you with two troubles. One is the trouble of leaving you as a father leaving the house. The other trouble is leaving you without any money. Asma bint Abu Bakr, you know what she did? She went inside the home, she brought, she put some stones in a bag and she came and gave it to the grandfather. The grandfather was blind, Abu Qahafa was blind, so she could not see. And she said, look at this, my grandfather, this is the money he has left behind. So he lifted the bag and it was heavy and he said, oh, khair, alhamdulillah, they're good. So he went back. Okay, so again, this man was a non-Muslim at the time. He accepts Islam on the day of Fath al-Makkah, many years later. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam makes a trip, and now they are in the cave of Ghar Thawr. Then while they're waiting there, what is the announcement in Makkah? Announcement is made. Abu Jahl and the people of Makkah, the leaders come across and they make announcement. 100 she camels each. 100 she camels each for the heads of Abu Bakr and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Dead or alive. You bring their heads, 100 she camels. 100 she camels is probably $1 million. So $2 million. Like anyone who can hunt them down, he's a millionaire and a rich man, and he's got status and society in Al-Makkah. Every single man goes on the hunt. Eventually, some of them reach the doorsteps of the cave, to the extent that Abu Bakr says to Rasulullah, "O Prophet of Allah, if they just look down, they'll see us." So they reached right at the mouth of the cave, and there was one thing that was standing between death and the Prophet of Allah and Abu Bakr, which was the spider web. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ankabut, the weakest of the homes is the house of the spider. Like one finger, you can cut down the whole house. And that was the protection and the soldier of Allah, which was standing guard between the Prophet ﷺ and the enemies of Allah. Anything can be the soldier of Allah. The wind can be soldier of Allah, as in the story of Ad. The water can be the soldier of Allah, as in the story of Fir'aun and Musa. So anything can be the story, the soldiers of Allah. And it could be the angels also, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala later on would say that they were angels as well. Allahu Alam, anything could be the soldiers. The hadith of the spider is Hasan. The hadith of the pigeon is Daif. The hadith of the pigeon is Daif. So it was said that some pigeons came and nested and they laid eggs and whatnot. So I'll mention it, but that hadith is Daif. The hadith of the spider is Hasan. So we will leave it at that. So they couldn't break through, and Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a remarkable comment. Oh Abu Bakr, what do you think about about the two whose companions, the third companion is Allah? What do you think about the two whose third companion is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When Allah's protection is with us, who is there to strike us down, and who is there to create some problem for us? So this was the case, and now the hunt begins, and now Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam makes the trip, and now they start going through the coastal route. I'll mention some key events that happened. One thing, before Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam left Mecca, he recited, he said few words, and that he actually talked to Mecca, he talked to the city of Mecca. And he also said, وَقُلْ رَبِّي أَدْخِلْنِي مُدْخَلَ صِدْقٍ وَأَخْرِجْنِي مُخْرَجَ صِدْقٍ وَاجْعَلْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا. He said, oh Allah, cause me to enter into a sound entrance, and cause me to have a sound exit, and grant me from yourself a supporting authority. Sultana Nasira, a supporting authority. Sometimes Quran, there could be a person who can give you more protection than Quran could. And this is not my statement, this is a statement of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sometimes there could be someone who will give you more protection and authority than Quran could give. Because that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this dua is very, very specific when you need protection and safety and security. Inshallah ta'ala will recite. And he goes on to one of the top cliffs where he could from afar he could see Al-Makkah, and he talks to the city of Makkah. By Allah, Allah knows that you are the most beloved of all the cities to me. This city of mine is the most beloved of all the cities with me. If it not for the fact that my people are trying to evade me, I would have never left it. So he says those words and he leaves out, and now the trip begins. In the journey, they come across a tent. One of the tents, and this tent belonged to an elderly couple, Ma'bad and Abu Ma'bad, the husband and the wife. And they did not have any children, and they were very hospitable people. And any traveler who would pass through that route, they'll let them stay in their place, take some rest, water, and give them water and some food, and they can continue with the journey. So while Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Abdullah bin Urayqit and Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu make their journey, and they go there, the husband Abu Ma'bad was not there. In another narration, it is said that Abu Ma'bad was also there. So I'll mention the version that says Abu Ma'bad was not there when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went. He goes across, and Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Can we take some rest?" And the permission is given. And then he sees a oud. This lady had a sheep, which basically there's no more milk. The bladders are dried. It cannot give any. It's called a EWE, right? So it's gone. Like her time is done. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam asks permission from Ma'bad and says, "Can I milk this sheep of yours?" She says, "Well, you can give it a shot. I mean, nothing's going to come, but you can give it a shot." So he sallallahu alaihi wasallam touches the animal with his blessed hand, and lo and behold, the bladder fills up, and the animal is just giving milk. And he sallallahu alaihi wasallam fills the vessel with milk, and he brings it up, and he gives it across to Abu Bakr. Rasulullah has it, Abdullah bin Urayqit has it, and there's still some more milk left, and they left it behind. They leave it behind, and they go on. They thank the lady for her hospitality, and they go ahead with their journey. And when they leave, Abu Ma'bad, the husband, comes back with the flock of sheep that he has. And when he comes back and sees the milk, he asks, "What happened? How come this animal can't give anything? Like, where did the milk come from?" And now she gives the description of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Remember, this is one of the best description of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we have. Because all the other companions, if you remember the statement of Amr ibn As radiallahu anhu, when he accepts Islam, and on the deathbed, when he is about to die, on his deathbed, when the son tries to console him and pacify him and say that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave you so many glad tidings, and he was trying to say, the father was crying, and then one of the things he said, the people asked him, "Describe to us Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam." He said he was like the moon, like a very abstract statement, like he was like the moon. Like what do you make out of it? Like was his face circular? Because they had so much respect for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they will never make eye contact. Amr ibn As would say, when the Prophet would talk to me, I would not even have the audacity to even meet him in his eye, out of respect and reverence that I had for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. While as Aisha radiallahu anha had that close associate relationship with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where she could challenge and ask questions. She will ask, "How is it? Why is this the case?" And she'll ask questions because she had that close, intimate relationship with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is one of the reasons why we have benefited so much from her statement, because we know about the life of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a husband through her. We know about many of the ibadat that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did in the household through her, and we know how a husband treats his wife and the way of jima and so on and so forth. We know it through her. We thank her for that on this day, and we hope to see our mother in Jannah. Ameen. So this was the case, and now Abu Ma'bad says the following. I'll read out the text to you. She says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, salawatullahi wasallam, please. "I saw him to be a man of evident splendor, fine in figure, his face handsome, slim in form, his head not too small, elegant and good looking, his eyes large and black, his eyelids long, his voice deep, very intelligent, his brows high and arched, his hair in place, his neck long, his beard thick. He gave an impression of dignity when silent, and of high intelligence when he talked. His words were very impressive, and he was decisive and not trivial and trite. His ideas like pearls moving on their string. He seems to be the most splendid and fine-looking man from a distance, and the very best of all from close by, medium in height, I not finding him too tall nor too short, a tree branch as if were between two others, but he was the finest looking of the three, the best proportioned. He was the center of his companions' attention. When he spoke, they listened, and when he ordered, they hurried to obey. A man well held, well served, never sullen, never refuted." Very beautiful, beautiful description of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The husband immediately says, "That must be Muhammad." The husband says, "That must be Muhammad, the man whom the Quraysh are hunting for." Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay. One of the rulings I want to mention about the ruling of hiring a non-believer as a leader over the Muslims. I know this is a point that many people debate about, but here are some of the rulings on this. Again, this is the opinion of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani and some of the earlier scholars, and it makes sense. You put them on authority when you believe that there will be no threat from them. Number one, when you know that when they become the Amir, they are not going to create fitna for the community and cause problem. And you have the level of trust relationship where you know the character and moral of the person. So this man you know to be a straightforward, truthful, honest man, even though this person is a non-believer. Okay, so these are some of the ahkam. So the Islam doesn't say don't do it, but if you have to do it, you try to look at all these points, and inshallah ta'ala there will be no harm done to it. Because sometimes in Indonesia, I think one of the classic examples. There was when I say recently, a few months ago, one of the governors said something, and there was so much problem in the state, and I think is he arrested? Yeah, something happened of that sort. Right? I was reading the news and I was thinking, okay. So sometimes these things happen. So we need to be careful of all of this. Inshallah ta'ala, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for understanding. There was another man who Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam met on the journey, Burayda al-Aslami. Burayda al-Aslami, this man accepts Islam from Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he goes on to live with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He participates in the 16 of 19 battles of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. 16 battles. Okay, he just met him and he accepted Islam. And there were two thieves. They were two thieves who Rasulullah met on the journey. And they, when Rasulullah asked them to identify themselves, they said, we are al-Muhanan, we are the disgraced people. And then Rasulullah said, no, you are the noble people, and they accepted Islam on the journey. And there was few people who Rasulullah met on the journey, and there was one shepherd Rasulullah met just very close to Medina before they entered into the Medinan region. This man had some sheep, and Rasulullah drank from the milk that he had, and so on and so forth. And this man asked Rasulullah, by Allah, I ask you, tell me who you are. Like, my head is breaking. Like, who you are, you need to tell me. Now Rasulullah reveals his identity. If I tell you, are you going to promise me that you are not going to tell anyone? He says, I am Mohammed, the messenger of Allah, and this man accepts Islam, and he wants to support Prophet ﷺ, and he says, no, for now, keep it to yourself. When I declare myself openly, on that day you come to me and join me. So these were some of the people who accepted Islam. Back in Medina, what's happening? The people of Medina hear the news that the Prophet has made the hijrah. He has left Mecca, and there's a hunt happening. This is a widespread news in the Arab region now. And the people of Medina are making the trip every day, and they are coming to the outskirts of Medina, which was the area where Qiba is, the Masjid of Qiba is today. So they come to that distance, and if you've been to Umrah and Hajj, you know how far Qiba and Medina is. 15-20 minutes drive, right? So about an hour and a half, walking distance. So they walk that journey every day, waiting for Prophet ﷺ to welcome him and go back. So they make the journey and they're waiting. And now Muhammad ﷺ is almost there. And listen, this is happening in the month of Rabiul Awwal. The intention of hijrah was made in the month of Muharram, 2 months before that. Now Rasulullah ﷺ is in the month of Rabiul Awwal, and this was the month of summer. Rabiul Awwal in that particular year was in summer. Peak heat of Arabia, like when the 60 degrees are reaching 50, in today's terms it's 50 or something like that. So it's scorching heat, no shade, no suns, no shades, no air coolers, no shorts, nothing. Alright, so this is tough times. Like people would die because of the heat, of the blazing sun and the luh that comes across, the hot wind that blows. So this is the case, and they anticipate that they may have also been ambushed by people, and they may have also been killed and assassinated. So that's also a fear, and there's no news of them for 8, 9, 10, 11 days, no news. And then Zubair ibn Awwam was actually coming back from a trip from Sham, and he was carrying some of the money that the Muslims had invested, and he was having 2 cloths of white cloth that he had, and he met Rasulullah and Abu Bakr Siddiq on the journey, and he gave them 2 pieces of cloth which they covered themselves. And while lo and behold, one of the Jewish men was working on the roof, and he spots 2 spots on the farthest point of the horizon. And then he tells them, hey people of Medina, the old man you are waiting for, he's seen. I think that's him, that's coming in. There was another man who I want to mention. This man's name was Salman al-Farisi, Salman the Persian. And this man, mashallah, I will take another 90 minutes to talk about his life. Like this man, anyone and everyone who wants to be a student of knowledge, this man should be your limelight and example, your light as an example. What he did and the way he searched for the truth is the way we should be searching for truth throughout our lives until we die. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for istiqamah. Ameen. So this man was a Persian, and this man had made so much sacrifice. He was a very wealthy man. He was a son of the leader in the tribe who was charged with looking after the temple, the fire in the temple. And this man was seeking the truth. He wanted to follow the true religion, and he was looking out. So initially he goes and learns the Magian religion, the religion which worships the fire, and then he goes on to learn the Christian religion, and he meets several Christian priests in that journey, and until he becomes a slave. And he becomes a free man who became a slave, and he was brought to Medina as a slave. So while now he is working as a slave for a Jewish man. So he was on top of a palm tree and he was plucking the dates. When someone on the street said, Muhammad, the messenger of Allah, has come, and he was running out. Salman al-Farisi says, the news got chilled in my, when I heard the news, I got chills on my bones, and I was about to leave the tree and follow. I couldn't digest the fact that all my journey of so many years, of almost a decade or so, has now resulted that I'm hearing for the first time that a prophet of God is appeared. So he almost fell down, and he fell down close to his master, and the master just hit him hard, and he said, you can't go anywhere, do whatever you have to do. Now the people go and welcome, and we know the famous song. What is the song? So this they were making merry, and they all welcome the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Oh, the rising moon has come over us to the valley of Wada, and so on and so forth. So they all were bringing up palm leaves, and they were waving at the Prophet to welcome him as a sign of welcome. Ahlan wa sahlan, we welcome you with our hearts and stuff. And people were saying, Muhammad, messenger of Allah, Muhammad, the messenger of Allah has arrived. And they all went to greet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina, and the first thing he did was he built the Masjid of Quba, the first Masjid of Islam. The Masjid of Quba was built, and now Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sends a message. So he stayed there for 3 days, and he sent message to the people of Medina asking them permission to enter. Now the message was received and responded with a positive note, and the people of the Ansar came out with their swords as a sign of protection, as a sign of welcome, and they all came out and stood guard to welcome the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came into Medina, and this is one of the first speeches he made in Medina. Ayyuhan nas, afshu salam, wa tut'imu ta'am, wasilul arham, sallu bil layli wan nasu niyam, tadkhuluna jannata bi salam. O you people, spread the salam, and spread the peace. وَتُطْعِمُ الطَّعَامَ, feed the poor and the needy and the hungry. وَصِلُ الْأَرْحَامِ, be good and kind to your relatives and kindred. صَلُّ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّاسُ نِيَامٌ, pray when the people are fast asleep. If you do all of this, تَدْخُلُونَ جَنَّةَ بِسَلَامٍ, then enter into paradise in peace. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes across, and there was one man who heard this hadith is actually the hadith of Abdullah ibn Salam. The hadith is called the hadith of Salam, because the narrator is Abdullah ibn Salam, the hadith is Salam, and it ends with Salam. Right? So it starts with Salam, ends with Salam. The narrator is also Salam. So the hadith is called the hadith of Salam. The taraf of the hadith is the hadith of Salam. So he accepts Islam on the hands of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he was the man who asked those famous 3 questions. So he comes to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked him 3 questions. O Prophet of God, why don't you tell me 3 signs? And if you know this answer, you are the Prophet of God. So the first question he asks is, tell me about the first sign of the Day of Judgment. Tell me about what is the first food that the dwellers of Jannah will be served. And tell me about what causes a man or a boy to be born. What chooses the gender of the boy or the girl. So this is the questions he asked. Rasulullah smiled and he said, Jibril just descended to me and he gave me the answer to the 3 questions. He said the first answer is to the question of what is the first sign, a fire that will come from the east and which will go up to the west and will burn everything down in its path. That is the first sign. Second sign is, what is the first food that the people of Jannah will eat is the food or the fish liver, the liver of the fish. The liver of fish, in this dunya may be the most disgusting thing for most of us. Many of us have not even tasted it. But remember, Jannah, the quantity and the quality is different. So that is inshallah ta'ala going to be the best appetizer we have ever had in our life. What is actual food? You know what is the main course in Jannah? When we enter into our houses? Steak. So there is an animal that is grazing right now in our gardens, in our homes. and that animal is feeding, from the grasses of Jannah. 3 things you say, you're planting a tree. You say Subhanallah, you plant a tree. You say Alhamdulillah, you plant a tree. You say Allahu Akbar, you plant a tree. So you say this more, your garden is growing. The size of your garden is growing, and this animal is growing stronger. So you want a nice, good big steak, inshallah ta'ala, make a lot of azkar and dhikr. So we will, inshallah ta'ala, we serve this animal, and we will enjoy the meal after we have this appetizer. And then what makes the selection of the gender? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replies, when the man and the woman have intercourse, when the discharge of the woman precedes that of the man, the gender of the gender is female, because the female preceded. If the discharge of the man is preceded by that of the woman, then the gender of the child is a boy. And science today proves exactly that, right? X chromosome, Y chromosome, progesterone, and organic chemistry. You know more better than me, inshallah ta'ala. Go ahead and read through that. And now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam starts his first 4 big projects. So inshallah ta'ala, from this we will start the Medina period. We'll continue tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallam tasliman kaseera. Jazakumullah khair. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Any questions? No questions? Assalamu alaikum.